This is Nati Tariq here. I am educationist by profession, and today we are going to conduct a training session on From Rote to Rigor, embedding critical thinking in daily lessons. Now we are going to start our session. Let's go.
Now I would like to introduce my topic, that why we are going to conduct this training session. Basically, this training session is very important for all the teachers from grade 1 to 10, whether whatsoever the subject they are taking, but this is important for their daily classes. Actually, the purpose of this course is to equip the teachers with the practical strategies to shift instructions from surface level recall to deeper, more rigorous critical thinking based. Basically, this is the paradigm shift, and in this training session, you will learn how you are going to shift from rote memorization, surface level teaching to rigorous and deeper level of teaching. The learning objectives of this training session, when I was designing this training session, what was in my mind, what I wanted to do, and what I have expectation from you all, that by the end of this session, teachers will be able to differentiate between rote learning and rigorous learning, identify higher order thinking skills in Bloom's taxonomy, transform basic lessons objective into higher order thinking, incorporate critical thinking strategies into daily classroom practices. Now that we have covered the objectives and purpose of today's training session, let's dive into the core of our session. I would like to start by exploring a key distinction, the difference between rote and rigor. Who will tell me that what is mean by rote and what is mean by rigor? How can you differentiate? Any one of you? I think as a teacher, you are familiar with this word. You know, rectification, rote memorization, ratta lagana. What is this? Right, that basically there is the repetition and the learning of information through repetition. Anyone else? Rote versus rigorous. We start. So before moving on the session, let's discuss the difference between rote and rigorous to set the stage for how we can embed critical thinking into our daily lessons. The method relies on the repetition, as someone was saying during the discussion, that when we learn information through repetition, this is the rote learning. Basically, this learning comes into the short-term memory of the learner. And what is the basically rote means surface level and rigor means in depth. Rigor in the classroom means that creating an environment where students are challenged to learn at the highest level and are supported in achieving those levels. It's about fostering deeper thinking, problem solving, and critical analysis rather than just memorization. You can see on the screen how we can relate the rote learning and rigor learning from this analogy that is given in this slide. A sponge on the surface of the water and sponge dipped in the water. Yes, rote learning is basically what we are trying to say, that rote learning is just like the surface level learning. आप लोग स्पंज को देख सकते हैं जो कि ग्लास के ऊपर वाटर की सरफेस लेवल पे रखा हुआ है. So you can see on the screen that when a sponge is placed on the top of a glass of water, it only absorbs a few drops. ऐसे ही है, जब आप सरफेस पे रखेंगे तो वो सिर्फ एक few drops को लेगा. बिल्कुल ठीक. But when the sponge is dipped fully into the water, it soaks up everything. This shows the difference between the surface level learning and the deep, meaningful learning. Rote learning is like staying on the surface, and rigor learning is like going deep where real understanding happens. आप देखें इस क्लास को या इसके अंदर पानी को आप समझ लें कि this is the knowledge of the teacher or the knowledge given in the book. And the other one glass जो आपके right hand पे आपको नजर आ रहा होगा स्क्रीन पे, उसमें sponge is dipped into the water. आप मुझे बताएं कि कौन ज्यादा वाटर को एब्सॉर्ब कर रहा है. यस अनिला। हाँ, कौन सा ग्लास जो है आपके राइट हैंड पे लेफ्ट हैंड पे कौन सा ज्यादा रिगर को शो कर रहा है? जो स्पंज वाटर के ऊपर रखा हुआ है, जो स्पंज वाटर के अंदर डिप्ड है। टीचर का नॉलेज फुल क्लास के अंदर वाटर के जितना है, लेकिन स्टूडेंट कितना एब्सॉर्ब कर रहा है रोट लर्निंग के थ्रू? वो जितना सिर्फ फ्यू ड्रॉप्स को एब्सॉर्ब कर। बट इफ द स्पंज डिप्ड इनटू द वाटर, वो पूरा फुल जो है वाटर से वेप्ट हो जाएगा। तो इसका मतलब बहुत ज्यादा वाटर को, बहुत ज्यादा नॉलेज को अपने अंदर गेन कर रहा है। दिस इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन रोट लर्निंग एंड रिगर लर्निंग। अब हम देखेंगे कि कैसे हम अपना नॉलेज जो है वो अपने स्टूडेंट्स के अंदर ट्रांसफर कर सकते हैं, यहाँ से अपनी रोट लर्निंग क्लास को रिगर लर्निंग क्लास में ट्रांसफॉर्म कर सकते हैं। नाउ दिस इज द सिनेरियो एंड दिस इज एन एक्टिविटी फॉर यू ऑल। Scenario. Sami is a 12 years old student in your class. He has memorized over 10 surahs, including Surah Al-Asr, Al-Fil, and Surah Al-Ikhlas. In class, he recites fluently and receives praise for his tajweed. However, one day, during a discussion, you ask, Sami, what is Allah teaching us in Surah Al-Asr? And Sami paused and says, I'm not sure. I just remember we have to read it in Salah. When you ask, can you give an example of how we can apply Surah Al-Asr in our life? He replies, I don't know. We just have to memorize it. So, do you think this attitude and behavior is appropriate? Is it good for Sami to just memorize the surahs, and even he is unable to implement all these teachings of Islam, what Allah is saying in his or her life? Not good. Yes, Amna, it is critically just rote learning. Yes, this is just a rote learning. So, Ikra has answered before we have raised the question that what type of learning is being emphasized in Sami's experience, rote or rigor. Amna has replied that this is the rote learning. And what is missing in Sami's Quran education? What he should do? What do you suggest? The understanding is missing because he is unable to implement all these practices that Allah requires from us in his daily life. And how could this lesson be redesigned to include deeper understanding and critical thinking? आपको क्या लगता है कि समी को क्या करना चाहिए? ठीक है, बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है जैसे आपने सारे सिग्नल्स को पढ़ लिया हो, रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस पढ़ लिए हो, कानून पढ़ लिए हो, बट व्हेन यू आर ड्राइविंग योर कार एंड यू आर अनेबल टू स्टॉप ऑन द रेड सिग्नल, ठीक है, तो आप अगर अपनी कार को रेड सिग्नल के ऊपर नहीं रोकेंगे तो क्या होगा? एक्सीडेंट होगा. तो दिस इज the way that we are to learn the practice, understanding how to implement these things in the daily life. बिल्कुल फारिक हैदर ने कहा है कि जी ट्रांसलेशन को भी पढ़ें, बिल्कुल ट्रांसलेशन को भी पढ़ें क्योंकि वो लैंग्वेज का डिफरेंस है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग भी होनी चाहिए. ट्रांसलेशन का भी अगर वो रोट मेमोराइजेशन कर लेते हैं, रट्टा लगा लेते हैं, तो मोस्ट प्रोबेबली ही विल नॉट बी एबल टू आंसर इट. इकरा, hearing or understanding, what is the difference between the hearing and the understanding? हेयरिंग आपका मतलब एक ताल्लुक है जो कि सिर्फ आपकी सेंसेस के साथ है. हम बहुत सारे ऐसे वर्ड्स भी सुन रहे होते हैं जिनको हम अंडरस्टैंड नहीं करते. ये नायाब कह रही हैं कि अंडरस्टैंडिंग बाय मीनिंग. बिल्कुल ठीक है कि मीनिंग के साथ जब वो उसको पढ़ेंगी तो शायद वो उसको अंडरस्टैंड भी कर लें. तो व्हाट स्ट्रेटजीज कैन वी यूज टू इंश्योर द स्टूडेंट्स अंडरस्टैंड एंड प्रैक्टिस व्हाट दे रिसाइट? हमें क्या प्रैक्टिस करनी होगी, स्ट्रेटजीज कौन सी यूज करनी होंगी कि जो जिसकी वजह से जब रेसिटेशन वो करे तो ना सिर्फ ये कि वो वर्बली बोल रहा हो उन अल्फाज को, बल्कि उन अल्फाज को समझ के अपनी लाइफ में इंप्लीमेंट भी कर रहा हो, क्योंकि उसका फायदा तभी होगा. अच्छा, basically that was a scenario and to make you understand that what is the difference between the rote learning and rigor learning. Now, how can we align this with the purpose of the Quran as a guide, not just a text to memorize? And Mariam कह रही है कि